Hello, STEM girlies. Welcome back to Computer Sheience, the podcast that connects ambitious and driven girls just like you to the trailblazing women of STEM. Our guest for today is an incoming freshman into Stanford University, Aadya Chaudhary. A recent grad from Cypress Bay High School, Aadya plans to explore science, technology, and society in college. So, whether you're exploring a career in STEM or just looking for inspiration, this episode is packed with wisdom you won't want to miss. So grab your drinks, grab your matcha, and let's get ready to hear all about Aadya's incredible journey, experiences, and insights from high school. Let's dive right in. So, Aadya, could you start by sharing with our viewers a little bit about yourself, your work, and what you've majorly been involved with in high school?
Hey, so thank you first of all for having me on the podcast. I'm so happy to be here. I just graduated from Cypress Bay High School, and honestly, the past few years have been like a whirlwind of projects and a bunch of different activities, but I think at the center of it, I've always been really interested in social impact and education equity. Over the last 3 years, I co-founded a nonprofit called You Empower, where we mentor girls around the world in over 35 countries and 36 US states. And that still feels really surreal to say out loud because when we first started, we never thought it would reach that scale. We focus on career readiness, leadership, and building confidence through workshops and different mentorship events. Aside from You Empower, throughout high school, I've worked on a youth-led financial literacy initiative called Invested. I launched a podcast that spotlights female voices in STEM and business. And I also ventured into research on AI and gender lens investing while competing in DECA and being involved in computer science. So yeah, it's been a mix of business, technology, and just trying to create more spaces where young people, especially girls, can dream big and actually build the tools to make those dreams real.
That is amazing. I'm so excited to hear more about You Empower and all of your other organizations later on in the podcast. So, how did you first realize that you wanted to go into this STEM and business field? You said you also did some AI research. Was there like a moment where you realized, okay, this is what I'm interested in?
So actually, it's really funny because entering high school, like being South Asian, I feel like going into computer science, going into these STEM fields, it's like almost expected. Like you feel like you should do it. And I remember at the beginning of high school being like, I want nothing to do with coding. I want nothing to do with math. Like I really wanted to go into acting, and I still love acting even though it's not my main focus anymore, but I was like I'm going to be an actress, and like that's what I'm going to do after high school. So, I needed an AP class to take. I was like I really want to take an AP class, and I ended up taking AP Computer Science Principles, and I just really loved it. My teacher, she used to do like activities with different coding projects, and I just remember being like, it's so cool that you can create all these different things through just like writing lines of code. And I loved it so much, and so I ended up taking AP Computer Science A level as well. It just kind of happened on accident. I just kind of ventured into it. On the business side, I ended up doing a summer program called Launch X. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but after doing the summer program, I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So everything kind of happened by accident, but it's like how they say, like when something is meant to be, or like it's meant to find you, it'll find you, and you'll like discover what you love. But yeah, that's basically the story.
Yes, I love that. I love the phrase, whatever's meant to be will find you. That is amazing. So, STEM and business are both widely regarded as demanding fields. They require a strong work ethic, they require you to be smart, be a logical thinker. These are qualities we hear about from everyone. But I'm curious, what are some underrated or less talked about traits that you think are equally crucial for success in the STEM fields?
I really love this question. We always hear, I feel like we hear like grind, we hear discipline, but honestly, I think a really like important trait that's important for this field is like humility and just like self-awareness. Like you have to know when to ask for help. You have to be okay with being wrong or not having all the answers. And I found that being curious and like willing to listen to feedback, to your partners, and to people with experiences very different from yours, that's what helps you grow. You're always learning, so you have to know like you don't know everything right now, but that doesn't make you less smarter, that doesn't make you less capable, but everyone is learning and you have to know that. And also just like emotional resilience. So not just the grit to keep going when things get hard, but like the ability to feel disappointment without letting it stop you. And I feel like that's not something that we celebrate enough, but I think it's really important.
Those are all amazing traits. You said humility, self awareness. I think in STEM, it's so easy to be like, okay, I need to know everything because it's so important for you to obviously know what you're talking about. But being
Right.
humble enough to ask for help, that's also really important. And then emotional resilience, you cannot stress this enough. Like just persisting on your goals and what you want to do is so, so crucial, especially if, like in STEM, a lot of the things are not a clear path. You're gonna have pitfalls, you're gonna not be able to figure it out the first time. So, those are some great, great qualities to have. You founded multiple different organizations in high school, and instead of me listing them all out and then asking you questions, why don't you do a full spiel about each of these? I know you mentioned them before. Can you talk to us about what each of these kind of did, what you did in each of these organizations, as well as the impact that they created?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with like my biggest one, You Empower. So that's my main work. That's like kind of what I poured my like heart and soul into over high school. But we work globally with girls to help them build confidence, leadership skills, and like venture into their different career pathways. So we run mentorship programs, storytelling campaigns, and we host events with guest speakers, especially for women leaders who are in male-dominated fields like tech and finance. And so far, we've impacted over 4,000 girls in 35 countries with over 30 global chapters in different countries around the world. Something else that I worked on in high school is the Dreamstart Hub, which I founded in my sophomore year. So I work with different youth to guide them kind of on starting and growing their own initiatives and businesses because while working on You Empower, I realized that a lot of the technical stuff and like managing a team, expanding outreach, marketing, those things are like they get a bit complicated, and I feel like when you have someone guiding you and telling you like this is how it works, it just helps you focus on like the essential message of your initiative. So I wanted to help other students do that because our team struggled with it at first. So I wanted to kind of give others the launch pad. So I've helped about 50 students in 4 countries so far, impacting about 5,000 people through these initiatives. I talked a little bit about I participated in the LaunchX Entrepreneurship Summer Program during the summer of my sophomore year, and that's when I started InvestSed, which is basically a student led initiative that teaches high schoolers budgeting, credit, investing, and more through an AI based app, through different games and quizzes, etc. So, I started this when I realized that so many of us enter adulthood not knowing how to manage our money. And even though me and my team are no longer continuing Invested, and it is, I guess you could say, a failed startup, which is like that happens to everybody. We really enjoyed learning about how the startup world works through it. So I hope that those skills translate to this next part of my life. And then another thing that I want to mention that I worked on in high school was I worked on my city's math educational program, Math Factmania, which increases math literacy amongst elementary school students, alongside presiding in my computer science honor society or just like helping my community through my school's national honor society. So these are kind of a few things that I worked on in high school.
Those are all absolutely amazing. For Launch X, you said you started a basically a financial literacy app, right? And
Right.
financial literacy is so, so important. And yes, even though the app may have not worked out, those skills that you learned yourself in starting the startup world are definitely still here to stay. And then the impact that you've created is here to stay. So I'm actually part of this organization as part of the a local credit union we have here in Texas, the Credit Union of Texas.
Mhm.
We teach financial literacy to students in high school, and we're just teaching them like credit, debit, loans, how to pay for college. I think those are really crucial life skills to have. So
Right.
I'm so glad you did that. Is there a specific instance in an organization that you think has transformed you the most since you've done all of these incredible things? Is there one instance that you can look back on?
Yeah, so I think one instance is from You Empower, and it's definitely been the most transformative for me, just You Empower in general. But one moment that really, I think, helped me realize like why we're doing what we're doing is that one of the girls involved in our program came from a background where like leadership and ambition weren't always encouraged or expected. So watching her slowly step into her potential, take on opportunities, and grow more confident over time was incredibly powerful for me to watch, because when we first met her, she was scared and she couldn't participate in a lot of things. But now seeing her, 2 years later, she's interning at these amazing companies and she's like doing what she told us she wanted to do 2 years ago. So that moment has been for me very transformational, because I realized that like this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is the why behind You Empower. So it also made me realize that, these changes, they don't always happen in big, flashy moments. Sometimes it's the quiet shifts in someone deciding they're more capable of what they've been told. And that experience just reminds me why this work matters and how deeply personal it is.
Yes, for sure. Your why is so important. And that's when you think like, oh, something isn't working right now, or you don't feel like working at this certain point in time, your why is what keeps you going. So that is definitely really important. I agree with you there. I want to segue back into InvestEd for a second. You have this business oriented side of you as well. So I absolutely love that. Could you talk to us a little bit about the heights that you got to take InvestEd to? Like, how was it launching it as part of Launch X? And then just talk to us a little bit about why you think financial literacy is important for high schoolers and just all youth to learn about, anyways.
Yeah, so LaunchX is essentially like it's a 3-week program where you want to launch an actual product or, app or some sort of prototype, and you want some sort of funding or profit from it. And it's kind of the main focus of the program. When we first created Invested, I think the heights that we were able to take it to, and what I found really like wonderful to learn, is like how to make an MVP. So we made our MVP and we learned how to pitch it, which I think is such an important skill on the business side. Like, yes, you can have a product. Yes, you can have an idea, but the true game changer is your pitch. Like, I'm sure, like, if you're on business TikTok or anything, you've seen a lot of people say that it's not so much your idea that matters, rather the execution of that idea and how you can convince people to buy your idea and put their money, put their investment in your idea. So one thing that I found that we all really learned, like my team from InvestEd really learned from LaunchX, is how do we pitch our product and how do we make investors see the potential in InvestEd? And I think that's like a skill that not even if you're just working in business, but I think you as an individual, everyone should know. How do you pitch yourself? How do you pitch your work? Whether it's a job interview, whether it's a podcast episode, whether it's just you speaking on social media, how are you pitching yourself? How are you selling your idea? And so, why financial literacy matters? I think that financial literacy today is like one of those things that everyone needs, but schools don't really prioritize. We're expected to suddenly figure out taxes, credit cards, student loans, and investing when we're adults. Our idea was, why wait to figure out those things? So with InvestEd, we created quizzes and games to make finance make sense. And we really focused on not including any jargon and no fluff, but just like short, to the point, informational activities that would help students understand why this is important and how to navigate their like financial journey. Because essentially, financial literacy matters because this financial confidence gives you freedom and like stability.
For sure. I love that you made it concise because when kids think about financial literacy for the first time, they think of this whole like complex jargon of words, and it's kind of complex, but if you break it down, it's not that hard. And I think that's what we need to like tell our youth, that it's actually pretty easy, but you just have to know it, early on. When you build that foundation, then it gets a lot easier when you actually have to do it yourself as an adult. You also mentioned pitching yourself, pitching your business, pitching an organization. You cannot stress this enough. It's so important to be able to talk about yourself, your values, the mission behind your organization. So, really, really crucial. I want to now pivot into my personal favorite question of this podcast. I know you founded your own podcast. You talked about this with us. So, I'd love to hear more about what sparked the idea behind it, What was it like getting it off the ground? And how has the experience just helped you grow?
Yeah, so our You Empower podcast, the Dear Butterflies podcast, came through really late in our You Empower journey. We founded it very recently, I would say about like 8 or 9 months ago. And we launched the Dear Butterflies podcast because we wanted to create a space where girls themselves could speak openly about issues that actually matter to them. Up until now, we had been doing a lot of guest speaker events, Q&A sessions, mentorship events, but we wanted a place where girls could actually come on themselves and be like, this is what we think and this is our story, instead of just being inspired by others, but learning how they can be inspired by the story that they're already living, if I explain that correctly. But there are so many polished success stories out there, but we felt like there aren't enough platforms where young women could honestly talk about their experiences, whether it's navigating ambition, identity, failure, or just figuring out their place in male dominated spaces. And the podcast just became a way to bring those conversations out into the open. So I've learned so much just from listening, how varied our experiences are, but also how much common ground we share. Our podcast hosts are amazing in like bringing their own viewpoints to the table on different important issues that are going on, and it's helped me grow as a listener and a storyteller, and it's shown me how powerful it is when girls are given the mic and the freedom to fully be themselves. And I feel like that's something that You Empower, we stress a lot. We have a blog as well because we really want to show that yes, you have these mentors, but we want girls to be inspired by their own story and to see that this is the leader that you already are. Even though we're giving you the resources to accomplish this or this, you are already a leader inside. We're just helping you bring out that side of you.
Amazing. And this aligns so well with computer science as well.
Yes.
When you're seeing and you're hearing conversations from relatable role models, it makes it feel like there's other people on the same boat as you, and you just get this community of people online, whether you're listening to them or you're talking with them. That is so important. And I feel people who have recently been through being outnumbered in STEM rooms or being through that situation as you or are going through it now and then they're conversing about it, they can give you so many more tips and just make you feel seen even more than say somebody that's like already super successful, that's like CEO. People who have gone through it, they can give you like the actual tips that you can use currently.
Right.
Love that. And now it's such a busy life that you've led in high school, all of these organizations that you talked to us about. How did you end up balancing your time between school, your extracurriculars, and then your personal, your family, and your friends' time?
Yeah, so I think this is like the eternal question. I feel like this is like the type of question that I think is hard to answer even when you're a middle school student all the way up to like when you're like a successful CEO of a company. Like I feel like this question is just always like, oh, like how? But the short answer is I didn't always get it right. I still don't always get it right, and it's still really difficult in honesty. But I think what has always helped me over the last 4 years is like having a support system and like having people who are still with you even when you're going through the tough times. Because I feel like it's the hardest when you're not feeling the best about your work or school or anything that's going on, but you don't have people to talk about it with. So I feel like for me, it was really important that I had my amazing You Empower co founder team and all of the other positions that I did or activities that I was involved in. I had such an incredible team with me that helped me get through these times. In regards to personal life, I had to be really intentional about like time with family and friends. So I'd say like, okay, this Friday is a no work night, or like Sunday mornings are for like recharging and refreshing. And so those have also been really important because I feel like sometimes we're just on the go, 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 and we forget to take care of ourselves and like be like, okay, this time is for me. And so I think that was really important to me, those two things.
Yes, I love that. Having Fridays as no work nights, that's so cool. And I think it's really important to realize that you're always gonna have something else to do. Your nerd to do list is never gonna be empty. So there's always gonna be a next task. So it's just so important to take time out for yourself and to spend time with the people that you love. That's really, really important.
Yeah, I'd actually love to add something too, because I
Uh-huh.
remembered it now. But another thing that I remember when we first started You Empower, I had my email accounts and everything on my phone. And I found that when I do that, or like, like Instagram DMs or anything, I would just be constantly responding throughout the day. And like that gets really taxing at times when, you have an influx of so many emails. So I found that one thing that helped me kind of keep balance is like having all my work stuff on my laptop instead of on my phone, and really creating the difference between like my phone is like my personal, like for my personal life, my personal time, and my laptop was for my work. So kind of physically also differentiating like what object is for what part of my life. I feel like that really helped me, at least when things got stressful, because I wasn't constantly answering emails like throughout the day, or seeing things like on a constant level on my cell phone.
I absolutely love that. I've started doing that too very recently, actually. Like this week, I undownloaded LinkedIn from my phone. So now, whenever I'm talking to people, I'm always checking my laptop. It's not like I'm constantly, if I'm in the car, I'm not checking LinkedIn. Same for email. I think I need to start, I think I should probably undownload email as well from my phone. That really helps when you distinguish and create like different separations between devices. I'm so glad you mentioned that. So, next, could you talk to us about winning the Diana Award? So, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Tell us, what do you think you majorly won it for? And then, how was your experience from the application process to finding out that you became a finalist?
First, like, just winning the Diana Award was such a surreal moment for me, because there's so many incredible women that I look up to who have won this award for their work, and to be part of that community was just like insane to me. And I think what really helped my nomination stand out was that You Empower has both a global scale and a local heart. So we weren't just running programs, but we were telling stories and making sure that girls from small towns and big cities felt equally heard. And I feel like that global aspect was really important to You Empower and like my mission. The Diana Award, I won it for my work in women empowerment advocacy. I've been working on this mission since I was in 7th grade, making different PowerPoint presentations and like showing it at my school or posting them on LinkedIn, and writing articles for like organizations like She's the First. And these all have come together to kind of form like my story, and You Empower is part of that story for me. So I guess about like the moment when I won the award is my nominator called me, and I remember I was in my calc class. And so I like went outside the building, and she told me that, oh, like you won. And so I like screamed outside of one of the school buildings, just because it felt so surreal, and I was just like in complete disbelief. But it reminded me that like staying true to your mission, even when it feels quiet or slow, it does get recognized somewhere. And like your hard work and like what you stand for will get recognized if you truly, truly believe in your mission. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned from the Diana Award, and the community that I've gotten to meet through the Diana Award.
Yes, you couldn't have phrased it better. I love that. And being called in your calc class, that's hilarious. Love that. So, what is one opportunity when you look back at your high school years that you leveraged and you think this helped you get to where you are today?
One opportunity that I think it was monumental in like who I've become today is DECA, which is basically it's a business club, and you do yearly conferences and you compete in different business events. So for me, DECA was like my first real introduction into business comm, because prior to this, I had just done launch X and I had no other business experience whatsoever. And I just wanted to try out the class and see what it was like. And the people that you meet from DECA and the skills that you form are just like, they're irreplaceable. I did professional selling consulting events for 2 years, and you learn how to pitch a product, how to like capture your audience, how to like basically like sell, right? It's professional selling. So you're selling a product, and I feel like that skill has translated into how I reach out to people for You Empower, how I market my different ideas online. I feel like that's really made a difference in how I communicate with people. And just in general, the amount of people that got opens you to when you go to these international conferences, you're in a room with people from Canada, China, like all over the US, India, and you're just talking with these people and you're networking over this common thing that you just both love. And meeting these people, staying in contact with these people is just like, I think, such an amazing opportunity. And it was so amazing for me because I'm still in contact with some people that I met at conferences, and I get to see all of the amazing things that they're still doing. So it's really cool. And I think another thing that I want to share here is just that sometimes when you're in high school and you go to a competitive high school or you go to a private high school or something like that, sometimes it's hard to get opportunities. You know, it's hard to be an officer in a club or to get your idea heard in your school. So I think something that's really important is creating your own opportunities. Like when you don't see the space for something, build it. If it's a club, a podcast, a new workshop, stop waiting for permission and just start creating. And I think that mindset helped me a lot. And I feel like it's something that everyone should think about, that these opportunities might not be available to you, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. You can create these.
Absolutely. If you don't see space in something, build something, create something for yourself. So, okay, next we're gonna have a little bit more of a juicier question. What is the biggest piece of advice you'd give someone if they're just starting high school for navigating high school? It could be about courses, clubs, friends, initiatives, anything you want.
Okay. Um, I think my biggest piece of advice is don't let comparison steal your joy. And I feel like we hear this a lot. This is a very cliche piece of advice, but it really is. It's so easy to look at what everyone else is doing and it feels like you're behind or it feels like you're not good enough. But as someone who has done and completed 4 years of high school and felt that way freshman, sophomore, junior, even senior year, you have to know that everyone's path is different and you're on your own individual road to success, and it doesn't matter what path anyone else is taking. That is like my biggest piece of advice. Don't compare yourself. You are trying to be the best version of yourself, and with the opportunities you've been given, with the skills that you've been given, I think you have to optimize that instead of being like, oh, this person has done this or this person can do this. But your focus is just yourself and just to focus on yourself. And I think one more piece of advice that I want to share is surround yourself with people who support you and people who are genuinely happy for your success. A lot of the times, especially when you're in a competitive environment, people start to not support what you're doing or not support your ideas, your mission, or your work. And so it's really important to surround yourself with at least one or two people who are genuinely there supporting you and on your side. I feel like those are my two biggest pieces of advice that I think are really important.
Yes, I love both of them. So, firstly, we talked about comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. And so many people say this, we hear this a lot, but there's so easy to be like comparing yourself to other people, but it's so important to remember that you're on your own journey. And I love how you said everyone has their own path. That is so important to just always remember. And it's hard. Like a lot of people forget this. So no matter how many times it's repeated, it's equally important each time. And then surrounding yourself with people who are genuinely happy for you, I think this is one of the biggest things. And I like how you said in a competitive environment, it can be hard to be happy for other people. And, your friends can also, obviously, they're going to be happy for you, they're going to cheer you on, but it can be hard to genuinely be happy for somebody like that. So I think that's what's really important, to find the people who truly, truly care about you and who are truly going to be happy. Finding those types of people that will be behind you, they'll have your back at all times. That is so important. So thank you for sharing both those tips. Now, with any amount of success comes challenges and failures. Challenges and failures are like the backbone to achieving anything. So can you share a time where you faced a significant obstacle in your journey and how you overcame it?
Yeah, so one time where I faced a really big obstacle, I would say with my team, is when we were initially starting You Empower. just finding support for a mission like this was really, really difficult at first. I remember when we started out with virtual like events, and that was our first idea. And we soon like we ventured into guest speaker events and empowerment letters and things like that. But when we were first starting, I remember people like friends or people that we know personally either wouldn't be sold on the mission, or they would kind of just be like, how are you going to make a difference? You know, just like three high school girls. So finding that initial support was really, really hard. And it took us time to build some sort of name for the organization before we got that support. But I think a huge part of how we got through it was just like the three of us having each other and knowing in our hearts that like we could do something with this, and like we can take this somewhere if we believe in our mission. And I feel like that like self-belief, that was really important. That was how we got through it. And finding, we were connecting these young girls to mentors, but we found our own mentors as well, like mentors who would show us that this is possible, and like this was their journey and this is what we can learn from their journey and use it to implement different things in You Empower. And so I feel like each other's support and mentors and our own mentors was really how we got through this.
I love that. Yes, finding your own support circle and your network of people who are gonna be there for you to guide you, that is so nice. It's so important to have, and I think every single person should at least have five people, I'd say, that they could be friends or mentors, people that you can always count on to ask for advice and help through different things. So, really, really important. For my next question, everyone has big dreams. Everyone wants to do all these nice things. They want to start these amazing, incredible initiatives and organizations, but resisting the temptation to spend away full blocks of time on our phones is a struggle for many. What are some tips you would give to your younger self for prioritizing getting work done?
Yeah, I'd say, TikTok is not going anywhere, but your opportunity might. And so I'm not anti phone at all. I think I'm the exact opposite of anti phone. I actually love using it for like content and connection. But at the end of the day, it's about being intentional. So, like, using screen time limits, batching your work and your play, creating before you consume kind of thing. And most importantly, just like reminding yourself why you want to get stuff done. Because I feel like a strong why makes it easier to close your apps and like to open your journal or your Notion board. But I will say that I think some of my best ideas and some of my best work have come from a TikTok scroll. Like a lot of the initiative ideas for You Empower, or, like different activities that I'm doing, I'll like take a 4 hour TikTok scroll and I'll leave with like 5 ideas. So I think that phone usage and like things like that they're super important for creativity, content, connection, but being intentional with that time, like making sure that if you are on your phone, you're learning something on your phone, like whether you're on LinkedIn, but you're learning something on LinkedIn. And I think that's really important. So using your phone in a way that is productive and is helping you.
Definitely. You actually said my new favorite line right at the start. TikTok is not going anywhere, but your opportunity might. Like, just like let that sink in. That is so cool. I love that. And then definitely your phone and just like social media, online places, they can be a huge source of creativity, connection too. It's like Instagram DMs. Yes, you can be like texting brain rot reels to your friends, but it's also really, you can talk to people that generally inspire you. You can talk to people that you might end up collaborating on something with. I think social media definitely, like you said, creating before consuming, that's so important. So when you like go on Instagram or you go on TikTok, I think first be like, what can I do to help myself get to where I want to be, to contribute to my goals, and then consume other people. I think that's really, really important. This does bring us to the last question of the podcast. Adya, if you were to have a heart to heart, girl to girl conversation with an aspiring girl in the STEM and business fields, what real, unfiltered advice would you give her?
I think I'd say that In a nutshell, you are enough, and you don't need to be the loudest person in the room or the smartest person in the room to make a difference. You just need to show up, keep learning, and not be afraid to take up space or to share your ideas, because it's okay to fail and it's okay to be scared, but what matters is that you keep showing up for these goals that you've set for yourself, and you're not afraid to be the first, like the first girl from your school, your town, your family to do something, because someone has to be the first, so why can't you be the first? And so just believing in your mission wholeheartedly, and like if you're passionate about something, go for it 100%. Like if you believe in that idea or that mission that much, then why can't you be the person to implement it? Someone has to. So I think that would be like what I would say to any aspiring girl in STEM or business. Just like go for what you believe in 100%. You are enough and you are the person to fulfill that goal.
That is amazing. Being courageous to start something new, especially if you are the first to do it, it can be scary, but when you do it, there's a new level of joy that you unlock if you're the first person to do it. So, definitely like take that leap and go be confident and be courageous. Awesome. So thank you so much, Adya, for being so open and authentic with us today. I absolutely loved this conversation we had, and your stories, your tips, and your unfiltered advice were so motivational. It was such a privilege to have you on Computer Science, and I'm so glad we had this conversation. To all our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode with your friends, and leave us a review. It helps us connect more ambitious girls to amazing STEM role models. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and chasing those dreams. See you soon on Computer Science.